Today, I have prepared a truly terrifying and horrifying video for you. I will tell you about an Albanian immigrant who slit the throat of a 7-year-old girl right in front of her parents. You will learn all the details of this incident, how such a thing was allowed to happen, and what sentence was given to the criminal. Emily Grace Jones was born in England on January 18, 2013. Her mother Sarah worked as a lawyer, and her father Mark as a credit manager. Emily was a beautiful and active girl who attended Bolton Primary School. She showed excellent academic results. Her acquaintances and parents only spoke well of her. Emily was the only child in the family. There was total peace, trust, and respect in the family. Emily often walked with her parents in various parks, and the family spent a lot of time together. Sarah and Mark said their daughter was the light of their lives. The parents cherished their child dearly. It is also worth mentioning Emily's distant relatives. Her great-grandfather participated in the heroic Dunkirk evacuation during World War II. His reaction to the horror that befell his smiling, kind and cheerful great-granddaughter and her parents on March 22, 2020 is notable. It was Mother's Day, and Sarah, Emily's mother, decided to go for a jog in Queen's Park, located very close to their home. The weather was warm and spring-like, with a gentle breeze. Emily's father, Mark, decided to walk with his daughter in the park and meet Sarah. They took a child's scooter for Emily to ride. From a distance, Emily saw her mother and asked her father if she could ride to her. Of course, her father couldn't deny his beloved daughter and let her go, thinking everything would be okay. Mark followed her, but couldn't catch up with the girl. As Emily passed a solitary bench, a woman with a knife who was sitting there attacked her. The woman, whom the family had never seen before, suddenly jumped up, grabbed the girl and slit her throat. Her father, following her, thought his daughter had fallen and a passerby was giving her first aid. But when he got closer, he was horrified. Blood was gushing from the neck of his beloved, beautiful daughter. Immediately after the attack, the woman tried to flee the crime scene. Mark couldn't orient himself right away as he was in shock and horror. Only a passerby who saw the crime began to chase the murderer. The eyewitness quickly caught up with the woman and pinned her to the ground. He locked her hands so she couldn't escape or inflict bodily harm on him. When the eyewitness realized the woman was no longer dangerous, he called the police. The arriving police and medics were horrified by the situation. A little 7-year-old girl lay on the asphalt bleeding with her grief-stricken parents nearby. The police immediately arrested the murderer, and the medics began to provide first aid. It was immediately clear that Emily needed to be rushed to the hospital, as stopping the bleeding with makeshift means was not possible. Unfortunately, the girl still died. Even in the hospital, they couldn't help her. On March 22, 2020, at 3:56 p.m., doctors diagnosed her death. Later, the senior coroner, a medic investigating deaths under unusual circumstances, said that Emily died under the most terrible and dreadful circumstances. After the arrest, the police began to identify the murderer. She was 30-year-old Eltiona Skana. The woman was born in Albania and emigrated to Britain. She entered the country in the back of a truck and, to avoid deportation, sought asylum. Skana claimed she was a victim of human traffickers. Initially, her asylum request was denied, but after an appeal, she was allowed to stay in the country. After the crime, the woman was charged with murder. It seemed that Skana couldn't escape justice and she would definitely be imprisoned. However, during the investigation of the incident, it was discovered that the woman suffered from paranoid schizophrenia. The trial was stopped as psychiatrists stated she could not account for her actions and did not realize the possible consequences. The investigation continued its work, finding new and shocking facts that stunned the public. As it turned out, Skana was already under a psychiatrist's observation, and her past was already linked to crime due to mental disorders. The woman was observed by doctors and repeatedly escaped from hospitals where she was treated. As a result, the doctors decided she could be discharged because they were tired of constant escapes and related problems. Records kept at the hospital showed that Skana fled the hospital where she was being treated in 2017. She made her way to a friend's home and knocked on the door, asking to see her 13-year-old daughter. The records also state that Skana threatened to kill her friend with a knife if she called the police. The psychotic woman stole the cold weapon from a local restaurant. This fact sounds even more horrifying knowing the fact that she was able to commit the crime after all. However, the detective inspector stated that the incident report only recorded that the escaped person was returned to the hospital. There was no mention of any death threats in the document. Beyond that, police had no evidence that Scanner was in the country legally. But the psychopath's record doesn't end there either. In 2017, the woman attacked her own mother and even threatened her sister. That day, she stabbed her relative with a knife. Doctors realized that the woman was a big threat to society when she was off her medication, but didn't indicate this in the reports. In fact, all of these horrific incidents involving Scanner's own mother, her sister, and a friend occurred during a break in treatment. She was supposed to receive special medication injections, but later this method was replaced by taking special pills. This meant that no one would be able to control the medication anymore. Here someone may have a question whether these drugs help at all to fight such a serious disease. As it turned out, yes. The doctors indicated in the patient's personal chart that Scanner could become aggressive if she took a prolonged break from the medication. All the horrible things she had done were exactly during the period when the woman neglected to take her medication. Therefore, the doctor's decision to change the treatment looks even more strange. In order to somehow control the patient's condition, a special person, a care coordinator, was appointed. He had to communicate with the patient, analyze his well-being and mental stability, and make conclusions about the need to continue treatment or change course. As it turned out, Scanner had met with this coordinator just 11 days before the crime. This was the only doctor-patient meeting she'd had in a whole 3 months. It would seem that you have a schizophrenic who has already threatened other people, yet he is treated with some neglect. To be honest, when I studied this information, I was completely shocked. Emily's father was of the same opinion. Mark said he was very upset when he heard about the details of the psychotic woman's treatment. The more information I have, the worse the whole treatment plan looks, he said. It wasn't just Scanner that his father was trying to get justice for. He sought the resignation of the executive director of the foundation that organized the woman's treatment. He succeeded only after several allegations of patient abuse at one of the foundation's clinics were made public, and employees who worked with Scanner have been charged with negligence. Dozens of people are facing disciplinary action. All of this horrifying information, the investigation was able to obtain through an independent audit of the foundation's operations. On that ill-fated day, something clicked in Scanner's mind again. She went to the local supermarket and bought a set of 3 knives. After that, she headed to the park, where at first she just sat on a bench. Passers-by did not notice anything strange about the woman. They calmly walked around her, and she didn't even try to do anything. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. When Emily's family was walking in the park, the cockroaches in the woman's head came out of hibernation and began their work. It was at that moment, when the 7-year-old girl was passing by that very shop, that Scanner decided to act. The strange thing is that when apprehended, she didn't resist at all.
Hands. Take the bag down.
Where?
Let me take your bag off.
Yes.
Stay still.
Okay.
Hands behind your back.
Thank you.
Have you seen a child anywhere? Is she on her own? Right. A child's down there.
Get down there quick.
Yes, it's in my bag. Everything.
What is?
In my bag, ID, everything.
18016. Go ahead. This female is now in court. She has said there's a white ID in her backpack, which is by the side of the floor.
What's in your backpack?
ID and everything.
ID?
Yes, and the knife.
And a knife.
15. Back to kilo.
Yeah, I'm turning out.
15.
Right, the time now is 14:45. At this moment in time, you're under arrest on suspicion of attempted murder. You do not have to say anything, but it may be defensive if you do not mention something when questioned that you later rely on in court, and if you do so, may be given evidence. Okay? Your arrest is necessary to protect vulnerable people and to ensure a prompt and effective investigation to this offence.
Yeah.
Okay? What's your name?
Albanian.
Just confirm to me, what's inside your bag?
You can control. It's just no bombs, no nothing.
No
It's just
bombs.
my ID card.
ID card.
In my mom's ID card.
Yeah.
There's a knife, some water, some juice.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay, that's it. So there's
That's
nothing
it.
that's going to harm
in
me,
the
no?
bag. No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Emily had no chance of survival. The knife severed the carotid artery, which feeds the human brain. A tremendous amount of blood flows through it, and because it is located in the neck, it was simply impossible to apply a tourniquet to block the vessel and stop the bleeding. In addition, the knife cut the esophagus and trachea. Blood in excess began to flow directly into the airway. In addition to the enormous blood loss, the girl died simply by choking on the same blood. Even an adult and a strong man couldn't survive such an injury. As I mentioned, the woman's trial was postponed many times. It was all about the psychiatric evaluation. But you'll be shocked. When the case finally went to trial, Scanner claimed at the trial that she was not guilty of murder. The woman was trying to get her found not guilty at the time of the crime so she could get a sentence for manslaughter. The sentence for such an article is significantly lower than for an intentional crime. Scanner's trial began on November 26, 2020, nearly 6 months after Emily's death, and lasted several days. At it, the public was given information about the woman's medical condition and the treatment she had received. Antipsychotic drugs were found in Scanner's apartment. According to police and doctors, the amount of medication should have been enough for a month. On the fourth day of the trial, a doctor who had been in contact with the defendant reported their conversation. As it turned out, Scanner committed the crime deliberately. "I waited in the park. I chose my victim. I killed someone and tried to escape," was a quote from the conversation. As you will have noticed, this testimony doesn't in any way match what the woman had previously reported. The prosecution insisted that Scanner committed a planned crime. They were operating on the fact that the woman purchased the gun on the same day of the murder, and the mental illness she had was used as a convenient excuse to commit it. After receiving all the information, the judge announced the date of December 8th when sentencing would take place. On that day, Scanner was sentenced to life in prison. The minimum term to qualify for release was 8 years. The woman was to serve her sentence in a maximum security hospital. She could only be released from there if she was no longer a danger to society. But in any case, even if by some miracle the woman is cured, she will go to serve her sentence in a regular prison. And on January 26, 2021, the minimum sentence for Scanner was increased for 10 years. As it turned out, the judge who handed down the first sentence made a mistake. Because of this, the sentence was increased. I would like to point out separately that this incident has not been widely publicized. It's probably because Scanner is an immigrant, and the country already has a bad attitude towards newcomers because of constant problems with their behavior. And in order not to add fuel to the fire and not to provoke the population to rallies, it was decided not to disseminate the details of this case. I'll say even more. While I was looking for more information about this case, I didn't find even 5 unique articles in the subject, let alone the fact that they were all in English only. Because of this, the public reaction wasn't as strong as it could have been. However, even a couple of articles were enough to make many people aware of this incident. The coroner who conducted the medical investigation into Emily's death noted that he was very touched when he was sent pictures of the little girl. He also added that he was truly sorry for all Emily's loved ones, and especially her parents who witnessed her death with their own eyes. In my 20 years as a coroner, this is one of the most tragic deaths I have dealt with, and the loss of a beautiful, innocent, lively, intelligent and charming 7-year-old girl in these circumstances is an unimaginable tragedy. I appreciate that Emily's parents are beyond grief-stricken, and my sincere thoughts are with them at this extremely sad time, said the coroner. The parents complimented that their daughter was a true ray of sunshine in this world. She was not only a diligent student, but also a very kind person. Emily was never happier when she was spending time with her family and friends. She was her own little social butterfly. Emily had a passion for the outdoors and loved playing any sport, even when she was wearing her pink sparkly dresses, said her parents. They were just heartbroken. This incident shook the whole family so much that the mother and father even needed the help of a psychologist for the first time. It is hard to imagine how Emily's father and mother felt at that moment. Just thinking about the emotions they felt when they were around their bleeding daughter is stupefying. It is worth noting separately that Emily's father continued to push for the harshest possible sentence for Scanner. When the woman's sentence was increased to 10 years, he was pleased, but stated that he would not allow the killer to go free. People who found out about the incident donated huge sums to Emily's parents, as well as the school she attended. £11,000 was raised to create a memorial garden at the school. Even more huge sums were received by the girl's parents. The couple sent most of it to charity. This was the horrifying story of 7-year-old Emily Jones. Thanks for watching.